Hey everyone, welcome back to Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays, where we sit back, relax, take that midweek break, talk about some of the fun things we found going on in the world of Linux, open source, basically anything we find interesting. That was the dulcet hello tone generator. Jill, Brian.
Yes.
It's the Jill tone. I'm the Vin tone.
We're the Ventones.
The Vin tone. We were talking about that on the Saturday show. It's been probably years ago because it's when we were first setting up the closed captioning system for the live streams. And I said Vinstone and it said Vintone. I'm like, oh, that's lovely. So I immediately went and it's like, does Vintone exist? Because I thought it would be a cool like bit character or something like that. And there's a musician called Vintone. I'm like, man, that's unfortunate. But hey, is as it is. We got a lot to get into. Jill, you were, speaking of Saturday shows, you guys were doing like a little party time Saturday.
Yeah. We finally got together here in Los Angeles and had a LGC viewing party. We haven't had one since the pandemic. So it was me and Steve Husband, Strider, Mir, and Alan. And we had a great time. And it was just... It took us a bit just to get used to normalcy. It was like a strange thing, but it was really awesome, you know, watching the show with you guys and partying and having fun and visiting. So it was really special. It really was. So we will do it again soon.
You guys were able to touch one another.
Yeah. And it was... Yeah, it really is. It's like you have to learn how to socialize again. Me and Mir were talking about that. It's definitely a thing.
Well. What did I do? Oh, I'll spare you the story if you want to go back and listen to the live and uncut version, but I did. Here's the abridged version. I spent about 15 minutes playing Apex Legends on Linux, and by that I watched like 2 minutes of the intro video, and I tooled around in the tutorial. Because yesterday they went live with the repo and it now works with Easy Anti-Cheat with the latest Proton Experimental. If it's your gem, not necessarily my gem, I had to play it at least once out of principle for a reason that I went into. And what else am I doing? Oh, right. Some new audio plugin goodness. I'm playing around with the latest. It's not out yet. It's in the development branch on the GitHub repo if you want to check out that and compile it yourself. Linux Studio Project LSP plugins have been some really high quality audio plugins that have been available for Linux for a long time. And the latest version fixes the biggest reason that I typically do not use them. Support for high DPI. You can actually see them now, which on like the monitor over here, this is one of our little tiny monitors. It's 28 inches. But at 3840 by 2160, the old interface, the interface right now, if you've installed LSP plugins, like in mice type, like nigh impossible to read. I had to drag them over to like the 40-inch monitor.
Oh boy, yeah.
They were super small. You know, they were of the time, but the DSP technology inside LSP is just great. I use the downward expansion currently, and for Trackmania, I use the limiter. The look ahead limiter, you know, for a few milliseconds. Speaking of that, that was fun. We got on it Tuesday, picked out some tracks. I think everyone was digging all the tracks, Jill.
Yeah. Even Yannick, who's in chat now, he was enjoying the tracks as well. Yeah. Yeah, you have had a good selection this week. I'm really enjoying them. I can't wait to practice.
It's a couple of curveballs. If you don't know about that, we we have our own Trackmania server. It's just fun. It's challenging for us old people, us scrubs, us filthy casuals. And we do that on Tuesdays. We get together, you know, drop in 14 tracks. We go around them, see which ones we like, ones we don't. We can vote on them in the server. And we kind of mix and match. Then Friday, we move that over, and 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, back here on Twitch. We just go at it in a points match where the first, you know, top 3 places, there's your incentive to practice. Get good.
Yes.
You win a free random game of your choosing, and you'll have to tune in to find out exactly how that works. So yeah, just playing around with a bunch of stuff. And fair warning, like everything's going nice and smooth. I'm playing around with a USB audio interface. on today's show. So if anything goes completely haywire, we will blame the Doom protocol, which is USB.
Yeah. Experimentation in production.
Yes. So, audio production. I do know a little bit about under Linux. So I am familiar with this thing, Jill, you're going to talk about, which is real-time kernels.
Yeah, absolutely. So Intel continues to be a wonderful ally to open source in Linux. And the big news recently is that they just acquired Linutronix. It's a German development house that provides services for Linux-powered industrial systems. And Linutronix is the company responsible for the real-time Linux kernel. And it's otherwise known as the preempt_RT. And it was actually close to 2 decades ago. That's how old the real-time Linux kernel is, but there wasn't continued development on it because of lack of funding and contributors. And so this Intel acquisition of Linutronix will really, really help with that. And more work's going to be done on the preempt kernel. And what's really wonderful about it is the preempt_RT patch actually makes the Linux kernel as preemptible as possible and lowers latency. And, with all the demands for the Internet of Things, industrial systems, robotics, embedded systems, edge computing, and of course AI, this can really help prepare Linux for the future. And the other cool thing is that the Linutronix CTO, Thomas Gleixner, is also the principal maintainer of x86 architecture in the Linux kernel. So this is a really big deal. Intel acquiring Linutronix is a game changer, and it's going to really help the Linux kernel.
It'll be interesting to see exactly how it shakes down now, but don't worry about these things. Don't panic, or panic, as the kids say, because the current plan right now is to keep them as an independent company. We'll see how that works out in the long run with Intel. Who knows? But they are the absolute architect for the preempt real time. Now, this is something that I run on the Jackbox in the studio, full RT, which you run into a very interesting set of problems, especially, get ready for this. This is going to be a shock, with proprietary drivers. I know, right? Like the Blackmagic hardware and the likes. Mm-hmm. But check this out. Typically when you think about real time, I think about audio because that's my experience with real time kernels. But real time, you're talking about industrial applications like communications between controllers, sensors, robots, tooling, other equipment like that. The problem with the RT patch set, and I think we might have even brought it up on the show in the past, is it's one of those things that everybody uses, but nobody really funds it. It's kind of been the problem with RT development over the year. And I am happy to report, I was talking about this in the pre-show, there's been a nice chunk of the preempt RT patches have made it into kernel 5.16. And I ran across that maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, because my typical thing is when I'm testing out audio interface or something like that, especially USB now that 5.16 is out. I took 5.16, I downloaded the real-time patch set, XZCat. I'm like, okay, let's apply the patch. And it said, hey, some of this stuff is already in here. I'm like, oh, interesting. So yeah, I'm just doing like a regular desktop, preempt setup from the kernel with nothing extra added to it. And we're testing it live right now in production. As of, what was it, RT19 with 5.16.11. The patch that was complaining, it was like, some of the stuff's already in there. It's working the best I can tell. So that's just good news all around. Mm-hmm. Now, Liquorix is something I don't want to say I got mixed feelings about, but it's something you might have heard about. It is, hey, let's install it. And it's going to make everything the better, right, John? It's just everything just works better? Is that what it says?
It's supposed to make the things faster, like gaming and multimedia.
It could.
Not unlike the Zen kernel.
Yeah. Well, if we're going to be talking about RT stuff, and I know we brought up Liquorix kernel, Pedro had used it or might still currently use it. I also want to bring up XanMod. It's another general purpose Linux kernel. You know what? Hear me out on this. Like Linutronix, it aims to provide everyone with a kernel that sports RGBs and racing stripes. And the latest production ready version came out like last week. So that's kernels 5.10, 5.16, 5.15. Now, according to XanMod, the kernel is recommended for Linux gaming servers, clients, esports, streaming, live production, and ultra-low latency enthusiasts. Man, have you ever tangoed with an ultra-low latency enthusiast? It's all teeth and nails. There's some dangerous kids, man. But
or for those those of us who like to use Jack, it is helpful. Here's
the thing. It might be worth looking into these specialty kernels, be it Linutronix or XanMod, if you need link fixes for AMD's P-State driver for the Zen 2 Zen 3 architecture. But outside of that, I'm just going to tell everyone a shrug emoji. I know somebody was getting ready to you shouldn't recommend these vendors. I'm not recommending them. For real-time multimedia production, live streaming under Linux, stock Debian kernel works for me. Debian ships full RT, and you can always recompile and set up voluntary preemption. Never had a problem with it. Now, I will say, if you want to play around with this, it's probably not going to hurt anything. You're not going to be in any danger playing with these. See if you yourself get any type of real-time benefit out of this. Try it out. Leave a comment on the video. Let me know. But yeah, generic packages, Debian and Ubuntu-based distributions, you should be good to go. So I just wanted to mention that, since I saw hey, they got a recent release, and maybe somebody's no, you got to understand, I absolutely have a use case for this, and this is the measurable improvement and gains and functionalities that I've experienced with it. I just haven't run across it. So who knows? Who knows? But what's this hipster thing, Jill?
Yeah. Speaking of not having the latest things, but this is awesome. But it is the latest thing. Okay. So I think what we're going to talk about now gives me and Ven both nerd chills. This is an X window manager based on the Common Desktop Environment, also known as CDE from the Sun Solaris and Unix days, of yore. It's was one of my favorite window managers from the day. But this new one is called NsCDE, or the Not So Common Desktop Environment. And NsCDE's main goal is to revive the look and feel of the common desktop environment. And it is actually based on the FVWM X window manager with lots of theming, configuration, and custom FVWM applications. And it is enriched with Python and Shell background drivers. So I know the author was saying he wanted, yes, you can go and use OpenCDE, but he wanted a more modern framework for his version of CDE. So that's why he used the FVWM X Window Manager instead. And that makes sense. So you could have, more modern applications and drivers and whatnot. So it's definitely a cool thing. But this is just, gave me nerd chills because I love CDE, grew up with it.
I tangoed professionally with CDE. That was the only desktop that I messed around with for almost an entire decade. Hi, son. But
yeah.
Even today, you got to admit, it's not strictly nostalgia and hipster stuff. You look at CDE and you look at this in NsCDE, it still looks functional. It still works. It still gets the job done. Notice, I didn't say it looked good. I didn't say it was pretty. I said it was functional. You could still accomplish anything you needed to do. Now, if you needed, it's themed kind of, because it has a theme generator for, ZAW, Motif, GTK2, GTK3, QT4, QT5. So all of your X apps are going to look retro, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And, as Jill said, it's largely a wrapper. But, yeah, you can think of it as like a very heavyweight theme for FVWM. Here's what I like about CDE.
Definitely.
To a lesser extent, XFCE. The good thing about CDE and something that looks like CDE is if which is not a problem now in like adulthood, but I know in university especially, I wanted something that if I left my desktop unattended, no one wanted to tango with. They'd come up to it, look at it, and go,
Yes.
That's some moon operating system stuff.
That's old school.
It wasn't old school at the time.
No, that's true. But I remember the looks I would get when I was running CDE and Window Maker, and I still do run them.
It's a deterrent to keep people off of your PC. And that's what I'm getting at. And even today, I'm pretty sure CDE works just as good as it did 20 years ago. Hey, let's take this out. What is, I don't know. No, I'm not going to use this. So yes, how would I want to put that? User-friendly is a coiled rattlesnake, which is good. It's a good deterrent to keep people from messing around with your box. They're not going to know what to do with it. And best case scenario, teach your children how to use CDE by installing this.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, if you want to go figure it out. Cool project. And
it's awesome. I mean, yeah, you still need desktop managers that are low memory and efficient, and CDE is one of them. So
no, I want to say
NsCDE.
CDE probably is. I don't know. I would have to install NsCDE because
NsCDE. Well, FEWM is pretty light. Even if he makes it heavy, it's probably still going to be lighter than maybe, say, Window Maker. But maybe not.
Maybe not. For everything else, there's XFCE. But XFCE is like user-friendly these days. You could figure out how to use it. Now, that's one window manager. But this is a entirely different story. This is cardboard. It's not a tiled. It's a scrolling tiled window manager. And you know what? It is absolutely not suitable for day-to-day use by most users. But man, when has that ever stopped us? So this comes from a blog post. And a gentleman was saying, I kind of got a problem staying focused when I'm working on things. And this really helped me out. So what does cardboard do? It automatically arranges all of your windows side by side on a continuous scrolling horizontal plane. Yeah, look at it.
Nice.
Look at it. It's like a dating app for your desktop minus the swiping. Pretty neat. Switching between apps. You can do it with the keyboard shortcuts by scrolling. None of that's set up. By the way, no drag and drop support, no default shortcuts, no toolbars, no clocks, no power control, none of that to get in your way of sliding right or left. And he does say it's a bit crashy, but maybe I kind of like the concept, Jill. I'm looking at them like, that's neat.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, there actually are a small number of scrollable tiling window managers, otherwise known as STWM, but this one actually looks really awesome. I love the responsiveness of it and the look and feel. It looks really nice. I do want to play around with this one. And I like tiling window managers. I mean, I honestly still use rat poison, and that one you use without a mouse, so it's okay. This one you can use a mouse to adjust the sizes of your applications, so that's nice.
It doesn't look too difficult to. So I don't know. Like it might be something fun to play around with. It might not. Usually when I hear somebody talking about like tiling window managers, I'm like, you need a hobby, don't you? Yeah, you do. And that'll take care of it. It's neat. I like this. I like the design idea. I wouldn't mind something like that. Who made it? I'm sure somebody. I know I've seen one like a swipe touch. HID device.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like just a swipe bar where I can just do that. You can't see what I'm doing if you're listening to the audio. Imagine I'm doing that.
You're sliding, kind of like what we used to do with WebOS and cards. Slide them over.
I could get behind that if I was working on a project that. Here's an analogy. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Think about like on Android when you do the tiles, when you hit the square button. I think it is. It brings up and you just go through everything. Kind of like that, but keeping everything in focus.
That's from WebOS. So that was what they took from.
Pretty.
Yeah.
One last bit.
It's really awesome.
Before we get out of here, I don't know. See, I got mixed feelings about telling people about this, Jill.
Oh, yes. Ben found this one.
I don't know.
This is cool.
I feel like I might be held responsible for some of the nonsense that comes out of animated QR codes made easy. Black and white, color.
Yes.
Don't know how useful this is. Personally, I find it horrifying and offensive, and it's a front. It's a testament to the arrogance of mankind. If I really had to say it, and it's pip installable, of course it is. Pip install. Amazing AMZ QR. And this is just really simple to set up a QR code that blinks and okay, I guess. Or if you just want to add some color or an image to a QR code.
There's Totoro and there's the GitHub OctoKitty. But honestly, I think, having colored and animated QR codes is a great way for advertising and to get attention. And it's just nice to have an upgrade to now. It's kind of an old technology. So QR codes have been around a while. Yeah.
The reason I felt this was safe for public consumption is I was trying to, I don't scan QR codes. I just don't. I don't have a QR code scanner on any of my mobile devices. And it's not like, they're trying to. It's like, I know what I can get up to with a QR code. So no. Here's the thing. An animated one, okay, it's fun. It's novel. Come on. If you looked at it, okay, that's kind of neat. If you didn't have that reaction, you're more dead inside than I am. But when I say that, it's like, okay, if we'll get an animated QR code, that's probably going to be on a website. And I'm like, yeah, if I'm on a website, why don't I just put a hyperlink up there, Jill?
Well, it's so you don't have to type it in.
I can just click on it.
The one advantage, you can just...
What do you mean? Type it in. I'm on the computer. I just click.
But if you're outside, people put QR codes on, banners and flyers and even on, big road signs. And you can just, take a picture of it with your phone and it goes to the URL.
Display, or it's not going to be animated. That's what I'm saying. You got to have this on an active display in order to get any advantages. Yeah. Now, if you're just doing it to include an image, maybe.
Oh, so Ven, you haven't seen the animated signs from the highway? We have them here in Los Angeles.
Oh, we've had them here for decades. But I'm talking, that's what I said. It has to be on a display. It can't be on.
Yeah. It can't be on it. Yeah. But a pretty colored one can. You can print out the still ones.
I mean, you give me some watercolors, I can do that too.
Yeah.
Maybe it's neat. Hey, hit me up. I'm sure somebody has a creative use for this. I just wow, it's just neat. I wanted to throw something neat in.
It's cool.
Yeah, at the end of this. Mm-hmm. So another thing that's neat, if you like what we do, this is not a break for a commercial. It's a break to thank you, everyone who's supporting us on patreon.com/Linux Gamecast. Thank you. You let us do what we do, and we get to do it our way. Yes. We don't ever have to worry about asking can we cover this, or is it okay if we say something about this? No, this is what we think. Like it or not, we're being honest with you. We're sharing our thoughts, and it's been fun being able to do all of that. We got a bunch of rewards and perks if you're able to kick in 4 quarters a week or more, including the pre-show and post-show for everything in podcast and video format like this. You're like, man, this is 30 minutes. It's like an hour and a half long live stream we do on Twitch. Speaking of that, if you want to watch us live, twitch.tv/Linux Gamecast. Access to our Discord where we're hanging out the other 6 days of the week. I'm in there dropping all type of mad nonsense like I do because I'm me. I popped in did you see the Pong game that I posted this morning?
Yes.
Stay away from that.
I love Pong.
Stay away from that. Yeah, you play as the ball in this Pong game where you tap and you're like, oh, that's silly. You're like, I can do better than this. 20 minutes later. I can keep going. We get a discussion open like that. Of course, we got IRC and our IRC live chat, be it through Discord, IRC, and Twitch is tied together with a bot when we're doing live streams, completely free, always open. And you want to visit our web zone, linuxgamecast.com. You don't need an ad blocker because I don't put ads up there. And we host all of our stuff ourselves. So it's pretty dope. Pretty dope. Thanks for letting us do this. And you can just head over to linuxgamecast.com. We got a support button with the gang of things like Wishlist and Patreon and merch and shirts and all this stuff.
And merch.
Yeah. No fanny packs, unfortunately. It's kind of sad.
No.
So we need to talk about Raspberry Pis, and this is a special occasion because
Yes.
I know Jill wants to go, it's vintage. I'm like, nope.
No.
Hold off.
Yeah, I know.
Hold off. Not yet. Wait it out. Because we're talking about 10-year-old pie. That's what I imagine.
Ew, moldy pie. Ew. That was a good one, Ben. Moldy.
Oh, Computer Museum. Raspberry Pi is turning 10. The National Museum of Computing launches innovative new pop-up exhibition in celebration of this milestone anniversary. That's right. As I was alluding to, the Pi is halfway to becoming retro/vintage because that's where I draw the line, everyone.
The line.
Minimum 20 years before you even think about coming at me with retro or vintage around something. The Pi launched in February 29th, 2012. A few weeks after that,
Wow.
I was spending an afternoon getting X up and running on it and trying to launch Firefox because I thought that was novel, and it took a while to get going. These days,
Oh, yeah.
it's crazy. Unfortunately, because Pis have just never really come back in stock right now. I think what happened is everybody who has a Pi kit bought up the entirety of the stock. You can get a Raspberry Pi 4 8 gig right now all day long, as long as you want to buy the extra $150 worth of accessories that come along with it. But just getting a bare board is kind of hard. But once that dials down, you're talking about, quad core ARM, 8 gigs of RAM for $100, $70 and something like. It's a massively
it's
overpowered
amazing.
piece of kit for once it normalizes back in price that I use to power the Stream Deck in the studio. It's the one thing I use the Raspberry Pi for. Like, it's a serious, I downplay it because I think it is borderline humorous that I've taken something that powerful. Like, what do? I was like, you control a Stream Deck. But in order to do that, it's running a LAMP stack or a Zampa stack, whatever you want to call it these days, an entire web server that's tied into the Steam Deck to broadcast with OBS WebSockets, with OBS on a different computer. It's amazing what you can do for so little. And 10 years, it kind of feels like 10 years, maybe.
Yeah, to me, it just seems like it's been only like 5 years ago. But yeah, I do recall playing with it 10 years ago. I mean, I remember when it came out, we had a Linux Chicks of Los Angeles meeting and we did an install fest to teach people how to install Linux on their Raspberry Pis. And boy, that wasn't that long ago. It doesn't seem like it, but it really was.
Halfway to being vintage.
Yeah, it sure is.
Man.
And I think it's, amazing. It has, revolutionized computing. It has brought computing in the hands of those that, third world countries and children and those that don't have a lot of money. And it's become the hacking computer of choice. It's amazing. It's amazing. Oh, just amazing little computer. And it's the top selling computer in the world.
You do that and you think about how much it's branched out. Like, it's still serviceable. They don't have a billion different SKUs for the Raspberry Pi, but you have the Raspberry Pi compute modules. You have the Raspberry Pi Zeros. I have the original 0W and I have the new 0W too, which I know I'm slacking everyone. This Digigram videos really held me up, but I'm doing an updated wireless webcam video about that. And just all of it's neat. All of it's cool. It's very easily accessible. Before the Raspberry Pi, people would want to get into things and I'd crack out my Arduino and like, hey, you want to, like, ew, get that away. But, give them something that is capable of running desktop Linux. Like, oh, okay, I'll play around with that. And an educational tool alone for the price, it's like 8% better than an Apple IIe because that's absolutely what I had in primary school. Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I think it's cool. You could just go to the local Micro Center computer store and get the $5 ones. I mean,
right?
Gosh. Yeah. So I have a handful of those. And then probably every generation of Pi, including the Raspberry Pi 400, which is wonderful because they went back to the old days of putting the computer in the keyboard, like the Commodore 64 and the Apples and all the micros. from the day, and they brought that framework back, and it's taking off. It's great.
Now, I'm curious, because when you say the Raspberry Pi 400, I'm like, I wonder how many people got the Pi 400 and kept it in the box.
I had considered it, but I just have one right now. But maybe in the future I'll get another one for my collection in box.
I'm curious if it's even a thing. What was it? Model 1, Model A, right?
Yeah.
Was that the original? What I'm doing right now is completely on the side. I'm on eBay right now. I'm like, has anybody got one of these in the box?
Oh, okay.
Okay, I found a Pi 3A in the box, but no, I'm not seeing.
Oh, okay. I haven't checked eBay lately for all the older models, but I do have one of every generation.
You better start, Jill. You better start, because I've seen this. I've seen this attack happen. Was what was it? The Wii U. I was looking at buying a Wii U, and Wii U's. I was looking at getting them right when they were at the base model, where you get like a base model with the tablet controller. I was buying it to play Bayonetta 2. That was it, and I was going to toss it, give it away if I could. And I don't know. Then I should have pulled the trigger, because like 30 seconds after I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll pick one of those up. Nintendo discontinued the Wii U. Then all the hoarders came out and bought them, like, oh, it's retro now, guys. And they bought them all up, and now the price is like $200, $300 for a Wii U. I'm like, get out of here. That's never going to happen. Not my world. I'll buy a Switch and play Yuzu. Then I'll put a video up about it and post it on YouTube. And then Nintendo will hit me with a Digital Millennium copyright strike, like they did that guy.
Oh, no.
Yes. Yesterday, who didn't show anybody how to do it. And I'm like, hey, look, you can run the Switch emulator on the Steam Deck, and copyright. They abused the DMCA. Because Nintendo, guess what? Will always be Nintendo.
They're proprietary, but that's the beauty of the Raspberry Pi. Open source.
For the most part. Kinda.
Open source. Most of the hardware is. A lot of the hardware is. But the software for it, you can download open source software, of course, for the Raspberry Pi and all the different Linux distros.
I don't know about you, Jill. I only run Windows 10 on my Raspberry Pi. Why are you?
No, I wouldn't do that. It's too heavy for it. Maybe the new one, the Raspberry Pi 4, I heard does run it. Kind of. But it's better just use the Raspberry Pi OS, or put, which used to be called Raspbian. That works great.
Raspbian
nice and
OS,
lightweight.
yeah. I mean, in the new 64-bit version. But I definitely think about that, like the weird things, like the strange curiosity weekend projects. Absolutely. I would be putting the Windows 10 ARM build on a Raspberry Pi. Why? Because I'm morbidly curious. The same reason as I'm absolutely curious is to see how Windows 10 and 11 runs on a Steam Deck. Like, I want to watch that. I want to see people taking this perfectly good Linux-powered function, purpose-built, general purpose device, and installing their
Linux.
Stupid hacker operating system on it. Windows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tables have turned. I don't know.
No,
Anyway.
the battery life won't be as good. Apparently the battery life is incredible on it with Linux.
That depends. I mean, you can burn through the Steam Deck's battery in under an hour if you want.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, Sebastian, Linus Tech Tips, was really impressed with the battery, with, some games, of obviously like Portal, if you're going to play.
It's not necessarily
older
the game so much. It's what not resolution, but what detail settings you're running at, and whether or not, because Valve just released an update a couple of days ago to limit everything out of the box to 60. Just by default, because people were running these things just graphics maxed out at, uncapped, no VSync.
4K.
We're not running for it. 720p display, but
but you can hook it up to an external monitor.
You can do an external, and you can also
do
FSR with the scaling. But Valve's trying to. Here's the thing with Steam Deck: the reason all of us want one is because it's an unfinished project. It's a product. I mean, there's more to be done with it, and I'll talk more about that
work in
on
progress.
Saturday. Yeah, it is. It is the software side. Hardware is baked, and you cannot get a better value. You can't get a laptop with those specs for anything near $400. That's just reality.
Absolutely.
We went over that last Saturday. Go back and watch that. Until then, we got to bounce out of here. Thanks for showing up. We'll see you again next week. I'm going to roll some credits as soon as I find where I need to double click on the thing.
Love you all. Aw, thanks for joining us. Crept1C, Linux Gnu, Mir. Yeah, we got Yannick in there. We have Nubbin. We have Katana. We've got Inertia. So many awesome people. My Steve husband,
Linux
of
Nero,
course.
I see how you showed up in the chat and you typed fixed it with a picture of keyboard. What are you trying to tell me, Lassie? Is Timmy stuck in a well? Without context, that means nothing.
He must got his keyboard put together. He was doing that after our Trackmania on Tuesday. He was going to do a stream on putting together his keyboard. Arthurian, love you too, and Drummer too.
All right, beautiful people, we got to bounce out of here. Thanks for showing up. And remember, friends don't let friends install Windows 10s.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.